All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to get into the anatomy and physiology of a perfect research question.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, we're basically pulling from the playbook of top-tier clinical research to give you the tools to analyze or even build knowledge. It's about asking the right question.
And it all starts with structure. The source material is really clear on this. A well-structured question is a testable question. It kind of forces you to be objective.
And that's where PICO and PECO come in.
Exactly. They are the foundational tools. It's all built on this idea that comparison is really the essence of research.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's start with the anatomy. The sources point to two main models, the first being, well, the really famous one, PICO.
PICO, that's what you typically use for an intervention study, like, say, testing a new drug.
And it stands for population, intervention, C for comparison.
For outcome.
Okay, and what about PECO?
PECO is for observational work. So instead of an I for intervention, you have an E for exposure. It's a subtle difference, but a really important one.
So the basic question format is something like, in this population, is this intervention associated with this outcome compared to this other thing?
That's the one. It locks you into a clear, testable structure.
But hold on, why do we need all of that? I mean, it seems a little bit like overkill. Can't you just ask, does this new drug work? Why do you need the P and the C?
That's the classic trap. You need the C, the comparison. Without it, your results are, well, they're kind of meaningless. Are you comparing it to a placebo?
Or to the current standard of care?
Exactly. Or another drug. If you don't define that comparison group, your study is just floating in a vacuum. It's fundamentally flawed. PIC forces that clarity.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's make this real. The source material had a great clinical trial example.
Yes, it did.
The question was, in patients with non-dialysis dependent chronic kidney disease and anemia, what is the effect of vadadustat versus darbepoetin alpha on major adverse cardiovascular events?
It sounds super specific, I know. But look how perfectly it maps. The P, the population, is those CKD patients with anemia.
Okay, got it.
The intervention is vadadustat, and the comparison is darbepoetin alpha. Two different drugs.
And the outcome?
That's MBE, major adverse cardiovascular events. And they even define that precisely. Mortality, non-fatal stroke, or non-fatal heart attack. You can't start a multi-million-dollar study without that level of precision.
So PICO gives us the skeleton, the perfect structure, but that just gets us halfway there, right? Now we have to see if the question is actually worth asking.
Exactly. We move from anatomy to physiology. And this is where the finer criteria come in. PICO tells you how to ask the question. Finer tells you if you should even bother.
Finer. Okay, so break that down for us. What do those letters actually mean?
So F is for feasible. This is the reality check. Do you have enough subjects, the right technical skills, the time, and, crucially, the money?
The practical stuff.
Totally. Then I is for interesting. And that doesn't just mean interesting to you. It has to be interesting to clinicians, to policymakers, to the people who actually might use the findings.
Right, so it has to have an impact. Then N is for novel.
Yep. Is it new? Does it confirm, refute, or maybe extend something we already thought we knew? You don't want to just repeat old work.
And E is for ethical, which is pretty self-explanatory. It has to be able to get IRB approval.
Of course. And finally, R is for relevant. This is the big picture. Is it relevant to science, to clinical practice? Does it open up doors for future research?
So what happens if a question fails this test? The sources mention some fixes for, say, a question that's just too broad?
Yeah, and the solution is usually pretty logical. If it's too broad, you narrow the focus, maybe reduce your variables. That helps with feasibility and relevance.
And if it's too expensive?
That's a feasibility failure. You might need to look at less costly study designs, maybe a shorter follow-up period. Or if it's beyond your skill set, you collaborate. It's all about making sure good intentions lead to good research.
So really, this is all about disciplined thinking.
It is. You use PICO or PICO to get the structure sound, and then you run it through the finer filter to make sure it's practical and relevant in the real world.
That's a fantastic breakdown. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. If a research question meets all the finer criteria, which one, F, I, N, E, or R, do you think is the hardest to ensure in a scientific field that's changing so rapidly? And why? Keep learning, and thanks for joining us.